Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to the channel. I hope you can hear me over the noise. Obviously, I'm near a waterfall, and I'll explain what I'm doing here. I mentioned in my last video that I was going to be doing some traveling for family reasons, and in fact, I'm in Maryland, the Maryland side of the Great Falls National Park on the Potomac River. The fall that I'm looking at right now is not the Great Fall. That's a bit behind me that way, and you'll see it hopefully a little bit later. This is what's called the Little Sister Falls, and it's quite impressive by itself. It's definitely worth a visit if you're ever in the area to see Great Falls National Park and come to the Great Falls Overlook Trail on the Maryland side of the park. So right now I'm looking at a cascade which is fairly wide, actually, right here on the overpass where I'm standing on. I would like to be obviously I would love to get down lower, but that's obviously very dangerous to do so. So I'm not going to do that. But as you can see, we've got these cliffs right over here, and quite a bit of water foam over here, upper cascades over there, and there's woods to the left and the right. Now I want to be able to capture all of this. The lens I'm using though is a 24 to 105, and it's not quite wide enough to give me enough of the woods to the side, so I'm going to have to do a panorama to capture all of that. All right, so upon further review, I think I'm going to have to use a 3-stop ND filter because I really want a little bit of a slower shutter speed than a quarter second. I like to shoot cascades between a half a second and 1 second, and that gives me the combination of detail in the water and also the sense of movement. So let's put the 3-stop on here. I've already mounted it on my filter holder. So I'm going to start taking this panorama now. I've got it at 0.6 of a second at f13. Swing the camera, pan over to the left here, just a little. Probably just take 3 exposures. So here's number 1, number 2, and number 3. And I'm looking at the back of the camera, and I'm really liking the sense of movement there. So I think that's going to work. Except for number 3 has a bit of a guardrail in there. Actually, they all do. So I don't want the guardrail in the shot, so I want to raise the tripod. So let's take a pause in the video while I reset. So as you can see, I've raised the tripod a little bit. The camera's just over eye height now. Thankfully, I can still see what I'm shooting. So my new settings now, because my higher angle and tilt of the camera has eliminated most of the sky, which is fortunate also because it's kind of a bluebird sky today, and I want to shoot before the sun crests the horizon. So I'm going to rotate over here to the left. Not too much, just a little bit. I think I'll raise the tilt just a little. Well, actually now, I had 1.6 seconds, that's too long. I'm going to raise my ISO to 200. Get that shutter speed down to 0.8 of a second. I think that'll be almost perfect. So 0.8 of a second, ISO 100, f13. Need my first exposure now, 2-second timer. I can find the shutter button. All right, slight rotation, and one more time. And I think I'm going to be happy with that. So here comes the image. I did, in fact, take one image of the falls as a single shot vertical. Compare this version to the 3-image horizontal panorama, which changes the perspective significantly. Which do you prefer? Let me know in the comments. Now I'm going to take some detail shots of some of the lower parts of the cascades here. Before I was zoomed out to about maybe 35 or so millimeters, I think. I'm not sure. You'll have seen the data on the photo when I posted it. But now I'm out to 105 millimeters, and I'm just trying to catch is one area that's just to the left side of the lower cascade. I really kind of like the rock formations there and the swirling patterns of the water. So I'm going to manually focusing. Actually, I'm going to use autofocus and then lock it. Still at f13, still at 0.8 of a second. Autofocus set, image is locked, 2-second timer. And that is not bad. That is not bad at all. I'm going to take a few more and you'll see the results. All right, I'm packing up now. As you can see, the sun has just crested the hills, and it's going to be too bright pretty soon to get decent waterfall shots. So I'm going to see where I can find a great fall before it gets too bright. So, on my way to the Great Falls, I've crossed another bridge that goes over another ravine, basically another one of the little sister falls. Half of it, the upper half right now is bathed in sunlight and the lower half is shadow. I don't really want to get the sunlight part, even though it's kind of pretty, because there's just too many specular highlights. That's one of the reasons why I was hoping for some clouds today. That didn't work out. But since the lower half of the cascade is in shadow, and it makes an interesting pattern in itself, nice little S-curve. So I'm going to take a shot at that right now. I've got my 3-stop ND filter back on. I've got my polarizer to control the reflections. I'll probably take several different variations, turning the polarizer around, because I don't want it really to remove all the reflections. I want to capture some of the wetness of the rocks. You know, so basically I'm going to have about a, what is it, 0.6 of a second? No, 1.3 seconds. Actually, I set I'm going to need my ISO up to about 200 to get to where I want it, which is about 0.6 of a second to 0.8 of a second. Let's see. All right about there, 0.6 of a second. That should be perfect. Now, as I mentioned, I raised my ISO up to 400. Don't be afraid if you have a high-end camera like an R5 like this one to raise your ISOs up. I mean, it's going to be able to control the noise really well up to, you know, certainly over 1,000. And what noise you have, you can probably clean up in post pretty easily. So again, I've got f13, 0.6 of a second, ISO 400, and I'll take a few of these in order to vary the angle of the polarizing filter, and whichever exposure works out the best, you'll see right here. So I've taken the exposure at 0.6 of a second, or probably, 0.6 of a second of ISO 400, but now I've gone down to ISO 100, took the polarizer, not polarizer, took the ND filter off, and I'm going to take another one at a faster shutter speed with the polarizer still on, because I want to see if I can capture a little more detail. So that's 1/4 of a second at f13 at ISO 100. So I'll put that up by comparison, and what I may even do now is raise the shutter speed, raise the ISO, and get one that's really fast, and then I'll blend them, and I'll see what I can do to capture both motion and the detail in the water. Good morning. This exposure is going to be 1/8 of a second, ISO 200, still at f13. I haven't changed the focal point at all. And that's not too bad either. That could even stand alone, but I'm going to probably take one more Probably should have just bracketed this, but I didn't. All right, so 400 and 1/20th of a second. So that'll really freeze the water. All right, so I've got 3 different images now from this location. Long exposures, and there were several shorter exposures. And I'll blend some of them in post, and we'll see what happens.
Here is the same image that I showed you before, using a shutter speed of 0.6 seconds. I slightly recomposed and used 2 images at 0.6 and 1/20th of a second for a composite. I layered in the second shot to add some details in the water. Afterwards, I took that composite, rotated it a little, and converted it to a minimalist monochrome. I think it really brings out the graphic nature of the composition. What do you think? Let me know in the comments.
Well, we've arrived at Great Falls. It's now fully bathed in sunlight. It's totally blue sky. Falls are impressive, and I actually, I'll put a link to a video I shot from the other side last year. It was one of my first videos when I started the channel. It's pretty to look at, but photographically right now it's not working for me. The light's all wrong. It's just too bright. If this would be a good location for sunrise, again, given if there's some nice clouds over there lit up by the golden sun, or sunset coming the other direction. But right now it's 9 o'clock in the morning almost now. I've been out here for a couple hours. Again, Great Falls doesn't work for me photographically, but it is nice to look at. But what I think I am going to shoot now are some birds. There's quite a few birds in the area. I've seen there's wrens, goldfinches, and I did bring my birding lens. Olmsted Island, which is where I'm standing right now, is kind of a protected wildlife area, so I can't venture off the boardwalk, but that's fine. So I am going to swap lenses on my R5 and see what birds I can capture. And hopefully I do, and hopefully this won't be the end of the video. If it is, and just in case, I'll ask you to if you like what you're seeing and you want to see more, please give me a subscription if you're not subscribed already. Give me a like and a comment, and there are some ospreys on the other side of the lake. Or that might be an eagle. Anyway, there are some large raptors on the other side. So, yeah, ospreys. A flock of them. No, those aren't ospreys, those are vultures. Which means there's something dead over there. But anyway, I'm going to swap cameras. And again, if you like what you're seeing, give me a comment, give me a like and a subscription, and we'll see you in a little bit. Oh, immature bald eagle. Bald eagle right there. Okay, I'm in birding mode now. I've mounted my 100 to 500 and 1.4 extender on my camera. There are birds all around me, and cicadas. You can probably hear them at the moment. But I've been hearing flycatchers, seen some goldfinches, and right now, almost right in front of me, I can hear a Carolina wren. So what I'm going to do, since the sun right now is in my face, I want to get to a position where the sun's in my back, and if I shoot over the glade that's before me right now, then any birds I see will be better illuminated. So I'm going to walk on further down the trail this way and shoot from the other side. So there's definitely bird activity in the area. I just shot a red-tailed hawk that was circling around. Not a great shot, but it's a decent capture. So I'll put the image up right now. I want to see if I can scope out that bird, whatever it is, and hopefully I can get a decent capture of it. If not that, actually it was a bird that just walked by a while ago and said that he saw what might have been a summer tanager. It could have been the same bird that I thought was a goldfinch. They're somewhat similar in coloring, basically with yellow birds with black wings. So could have been that. And it was right around here. So I'm going to continue over to the area where I have the sun more to my back. And hopefully if I do see a bird of some kind, I'll be able to get an image of it. All right, I think I'm going to call it an episode. Other than the hawk, I'm hearing more birds than I'm seeing. It's already going on 10 o'clock and I haven't even had breakfast yet, so I'm going to call this a show. But I hope you've liked what you've seen. If you want to see more of it, please again, give me a subscription if you're not already subscribed. Give me a like and a comment. That will really help the channel out and push my content to new viewers. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time. Bye.
Good morning.
Good morning.